Okay, it's Saturday morning, and the plan for today is to change out this propeller shaft center bearing because my center bearing has failed. The rubber here is torn on the car, and when I move the propeller shaft in my hand, it moves around quite a lot. So this causes a clunking sound when you put it in from neutral to D and to reverse. You hear a clunking sound, and also when you let go of the throttle. So what happened is this universal propeller shaft was moving around. So today the plan is to remove the propeller shaft and remove the bearing. So the plan today now is to lift up the back of the car. Okay, I want to tilt the car this way towards the front and put two blocks of wood underneath each rear tire. This will lift the car about 2 inches. Hopefully this is enough space for me to go underneath and remove the propeller shaft. So why do I tilt it forwards? Because I don't want the ATF to spill out when I pull out the propeller shaft. If you leave it level or you tilt it this way, the ATF will spill out. So this should be a minimal spill of ATF because some will be in the splines. So now let's get to it. I'm going to chop the front wheels and jack up the rear and put on the wooden blocks on under the tires. Put the car on the wooden blocks and I've chopped the front wheels. I need to let go of the handbrake and put the transmission in neutral, and then later I need to take note of where the front and the rear is on this bearing. Okay, as you can see, there's a curve over here of rubber, and if you turn it the other way around, you'll see that this part here is empty, right? The rubber is behind there and this is accessible. So I need to take note when I bring out the shaft which side is front and which one is rear. Okay, I need to put it in correctly. So now I'm going to try to attempt to remove the propeller shaft. The exhaust will be in the way, but yeah, theoretically I can pull out the propeller shaft like this so I don't have to remove the exhaust. So now I'm going to attempt that. Underneath the car again. As you can see that I've put jack stands on now because when I try to go in and underneath with the two blocks, it's not enough. So I put the jack stands on and with some rubber pads under here, and I let it rest on the jack stand, but I still leave this jack in here just in case. So it's a little bit loose, so if it drops, it will drop on the jack, right? And now I can have enough space to go underneath and remove the propeller shaft. Okay, I'm underneath the car now. And first thing I need to do is remove this bar here. So this one is quite easy to access, but this one is behind the exhaust here. So when I remove this bar, then I can bring this propeller shaft down on the side, and I don't want to remove the exhaust if I can. Once I remove this, then I can remove this, right? So now proceed with this now. It's a 14mm, and I'm going to take a long breaker bar and loosen it. Okay, once again, I've been proven to be too optimistic. Looks like I have to lower the exhaust, so I remove the exhaust bracket here and here, right? And I let it rest on top of this can here in this block of woods, so I won't stress the exhaust sensor over there. So now I can access this bolt and remove this bar and try to remove this universal joint. Okay, I managed to get one bolt off, but I realized that I couldn't spin the propeller shaft because the tires were contacting the wooden blocks. So now I'm going to move this jack underneath the arm, both arms, and I'm going to get another jack and just lift this tire up just a little bit so that I can spin the tires and the propeller shaft. And look at this mark over here. This is important, right? I need to mark the point where I take it off from so I can put it back the same orientation. And notice that this head over here needs to be the same orientation as that head over there, alright? And I need to mark that one also, but I can mark that later because I'm taking down the whole shaft, right? So I'm gonna mark it over here in the same line also, alright? This is to prevent the propeller shaft from going out of balance. This is balance at the factory. So as usual, I've removed all the bolts, yet I cannot remove the shaft, the universal joint from the diff. so because it's probably rusted up in there. So I brought a jack over here. I'm going to use it to wedge over here, right? Just to push it up. No, I think probably this is better. I'm going to push up over here, all right, with the jack, and it will come loose. It worked. I've done this before and it worked, so I'm going to do it now. Okay, I managed to get it out. So now I'm going to remove this the two bolts holding the bearing, the vertical ones, and then I can slide out the whole drive shaft from here. Right, I have to go to the middle now. Okay, I've broken loose these two bolts here, alright, here and here, and just pay attention to how much this is going in or out here, right? See, this is just a bit outside from the shell, so when you put it back, it needs to be around here, alright? So now I'm going to proceed to slowly remove this, and I can pull the whole shaft from the behind. Alright, I think I'm gonna have to mark how. Oh, okay. I'm just gonna mark just in here, just in case I put it back the same way. Alright. Okay, I'm almost there. So as you can see, I removed one bolt from the other side, and there's one bolt still here, and I put the car jack a little bit space from the bearing. So now I'm going to let go the whole bearing and let it sit on this jack, so I don't have to support the whole weight of the drive shaft, and then pull this front end out, pull it from the back. Right, now I'm going to proceed. Well, looks like I was right. By tilting the car forward, there's no spillage of ATF. Right, so now I got the shaft out. I'm just going to test fit the new bearing in here just to make sure that it fits into this slot here. And the propeller shaft is now down on the ground. Right, so now I'm going to proceed to bring it away from the car, so it's easier for me to swap out the bearing. Out of the car now. This is the back part of the joint that is attached to the diff. As you can see, the mark that I made earlier is still there. So this mark, right, basically this part of the universal joint needs to be the same in all three positions, right? And then I mark this one also here to here, because now we have to separate this from this. And look at this bearing here. The bearing itself is okay, but the rubber is damaged. So as you can see, it's moving around a lot. So when you can see that this is really bad. It's moving around too much, so this is causing the clunking noise. Alright, of course the diff also has some backlash. So now I have to remove all these 4 bolts and then try to pry this apart so I can access the big center nut in the middle here. Okay, now this has been split apart. Well, I didn't do this myself. I asked the nearby mechanic to help me to split this, and he changed this bearing for me one shot. So this is the correct orientation, this forward. Alright, so as you can see now, it's smooth. It's moving very smoothly. There's no resistance or notchiness. Right, what I'm going to do now, before I put it back, I'm going to take care of all these rust spots. I'm going to put some rust converter. You can see rust converter on top there. Sand this, put some rust converter. Also here, some rust over here, some rust over here. So I'm going to take care of all this rust and lubricate the joints, and then I'll put it back. Now we'll show you the old bearing. As you can see, the old bearing is completely off center. It has collapsed, so it's not maintaining its center anymore. Collapsed because this rubber has cracked and sagged down. Alright, the bearing itself is fine, it's moving very smoothly, but the rubber is a goner. As you can see that it's moving around too much. So when you press, when you put it in D, this thing will start moving up and down and left and right everywhere. It's supposed to move just a little. Right. Now we're under here. I'm going to demonstrate something I found about this bearing. Right. Earlier I tried to remove the bearing with the shaft front like this, and I couldn't. So I found out that they made this on this way on purpose. you actually have to slide bearing backwards, then you can remove it. Alright, you cannot go from bottom. You go like this and push it in, alright, and then bolt it on. So later when I put back the universal shaft, I will slide from behind here. I'm planning to split the half and put the front half in first, then I put the rear half. Okay, I've treated the rusted areas with rust converter. After this, I'll spray a little bit of paint and lubricate the universal joints. Universal joint is a bit notchy, but doesn't seem to have any slop. There's no slop in here, so I'm gonna just lubricate it and put it back. And the thing is, when putting it back, I'm going to do a different way, where I'm not going to put back the whole shaft as one piece. I'm going to put the front end first, because lifting this is very difficult compared to removing it. So I'm going to lift and put this in and screw in this bearing to the frame. Okay, and then I will put this on later, right, and mount it. Actually, tightening this shouldn't be so difficult. Even though with the limited space, I can turn the shaft and tighten one by one. Turn to the best place that I have access and tighten each bolt. So that's my plan for now. Oh yeah, the orientation is very important. Since I removed this, I forgot which side is the front and which side is the back. As you can see, there's kind of a taper over here, and then it goes up to here, and you can see there's a smaller tube inside. Alright, so when I look at this diagram from Toyota Supra Mk3, alright, propeller shaft, you can see this is the front end that goes into the transmission, and then this part here is the taper part, alright, and this part here is the tube. So this is the correct way, right? This is facing to the bearing, and this is facing to the diff. So I need to install it this way, right? So as I said again, I'm going to put this on in first, right? And maybe coat a bit of ATF over here before I slot this in. Okay, since we have this out now, so let's just have a close look at the splines over here. This is how it looks like. Not sure you can see. Right, it's very hard to see. The splines going all the way in. Alright, so I'm going to lubricate the splines and to the top of the shaft here with some ATF, and then I'm going to slide it in. I've wiped it clean, so now I'm going to proceed to slide it in. This is pretty cool. I'm pretty sure for this car, this shaft has never been removed, so this is the first I'm the only person to view this part other than the assembly technician at Toyota in 1989. So it's now 2022 and I'm watching this spline for the first time. Looks quite nice, and that mark is from the factory. Alright, so now I'm going to lather a little ATF on the end and slide it in. Okay, I'm under the car now, and I realized that there's a purpose why Toyota did it this way. Why it cannot drop off if you cannot pull it out this way. You see that when I slot in the drive shaft from this way, and I can just leave it hanging there. I don't have to hold it at all, because it will not fall off unless I push it backwards. So this is actually very clever. Alright, I don't need any special tool to hold it in. Right, so now it's aligned to the front, and this is more or less the correct spacing that I had compared to earlier. Alright, so I'm going to put in the spacer that the way it was here. One spacer here, I'm going to bolt in the bearing. Okay, I put back the center bearing and I tighten all these bolts as tight as I can, but this one is it's not supposed to be that tight. Alright, so I put it back and I try to align this shaft as straight as I can from front to back. So in order to get the propeller shaft straight, I have to push this bearing this side, and then I try to make sure this is equal here to here. Right, this distance from the washer to the end is the same for this side and this side. Right, so the centering is good. Gonna put back the exhaust brackets, and the car is ready to drive. Okay, successful change.